Greetings. This is Arvette McLean with Speak, The Universe Listens. New ways to view age-old challenges. Change your thoughts, change your life. Step into the bigness of you.
So, I was having a conversation at work the other day, and we were talking like, it was Friday, and I was telling them like, yeah, I just enjoy Fridays, because like, I played my little Feel Like Money playlist, and Fridays are usually just a good day, or whatever. It's like a good feeling. Things usually just flow away on Fridays. And so I got a little pushback, like, I think you just experience a little more life. Fridays won't really be that. And so it made me think, well, I think that person probably just needed to like reconstruct how they see their circumstances, because I think the only reason they might not enjoy Fridays like the way I enjoy Fridays is because they're thinking about where they are now instead of putting themselves, one, where they want to be, and then two, also just feeling like not being really appreciative of everything that's happening around. And so when I say like I feel good on Fridays, like I think about like literally everything. I think about the music I'm playing. I think about like the cars on the road. Traffic just feel like it's happening a little less all of a sudden. Like it's just I know it's a mood, but I know that I create this for myself literally every Friday. Like no matter what's happening on a Friday, I feel good. And so I kind of just wanted to hear you guys' approaches or thoughts on changing your circumstances, or like outthinking it and getting out of that feeling of, well, I got this going on, so I can't really enjoy this.
I like that. It instantly makes me think of, like when you say outthinking your circumstances, for me, it makes me think of being in gratitude, because I feel like you can outthink your circumstances by just doing that. Like a lot of times I'll be like, man, what am I really complaining about? Like, I'm not hurting for nothing. I can eat what I want. I can do what do I really have to complain about? Like, I need to be grateful for everything that I have. Like, I'm not in a space where I have to be complaining about things. And so I feel like that helps me outthink my circumstances in a way, because I'm appreciating what I have now and also appreciating what's going to come.
I think for me, something similar to yours, Rodney, just having an attitude of gratitude and just knowing that, there's nothing that I really need because I have everything. My biggest thing at one time was like, and I'm working on it now a little bit, but like money, right? So I don't like to spend money, right? I don't, but I had to think to myself one day, like I wanted to spoil myself. Every time I get paid, at least get myself something, right? And it's not like I can't afford to get myself something. I can do it. I just don't do it, right? So I'm like, okay, what is stopping you from getting yourself something? Why you can't get yourself something? Why you can't spend money? And so every time I remind myself of that, I'm like, what you waiting on? Like, you got the means of doing so. So getting myself out of the thinking of lack, because that was one of my biggest things I would say overcoming, was the thinking in the lack concept. So just basically knowing that I got it, and just being and knowing and feeling it, I'm good.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with everything y'all said too, because the comment that the person on your job made, it sounds like they're saying once you have responsibilities, then Fridays won't be so woo-hoo.
Yeah.
So much fun. So, but yeah, that does go back to gratitude for me, because when I think about, okay, what are you responsible for? Maybe you're responsible for children. So am I not happy that I have these children? So maybe I'm responsible for paying bills or whatever. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we have that shows us our lack, is the way we respond to paying bills. So we tend to think of it as a negative thing, when really you're so happy that you have the thing that you're paying for. If I didn't have a mortgage or rent, I wouldn't have possibly some place to live,
Right.
you know, or if I didn't pay a water bill, then would I have clean water to drink? So like, we're so happy about the things that we have. We love driving our cars. We love our beautiful clothes. We love, you know, the fancy schools that our children go to or whatever. And so instead of us, you know, being like, oh, now I gotta pay this, and oh, now I gotta pay that, like, to really give out like good energy, like a energy of gratitude. And you know, I had heard somebody say one time before, and I know I shared this before, like, what if money was a person? And if you're thinking certain things about a person, like, dang, you ain't never here when I want to. You always want to be with him, but you ain't trying to be with me. You know, like, all the things that we think about money. Like, if we were saying these things to a person, we know that person wouldn't want to be around us. So what things could we say to a person that would attract them? And then we could say those same things about money. Like, you know, I'm so grateful that you're here. Thank you for coming. I love, you know, look, I love spending you, and, you know, just really flipping your attention and really, yeah, just changing your perspective every time money goes out.
You know what you made me think of when you talked about responsibilities and things? It makes me think of, like, how as we get older and we start having these certain responsibilities and start looking at them the way like your coworker did, how we lose our imagination. Like, so when we're kids, we can outthink our circumstances so easy. Me and him, we could be kids and we can be like, oh man, I wish we can go see this football game. And next thing you know, we're dancing like we're at the game, and we're doing celebrations like we can score a touchdown. Like, we can outthink what's going on there and take ourselves there, and by using our imagination. And I think we lose that kind of when we get older and, like you said, have these responsibilities and things, and we can go back there, and that's the way we can outthink our circumstances by not focusing on, hey, well, yeah, Friday cool, but I got all this going on too. Nah, Friday is cool, you know? And so, yeah, I feel like we lose that somewhere along the way. And I think outthinking your circumstances is a piece of getting that back. Believing that and putting your focus on, well, let me think about what I want. Let me, you know, yeah.
And I know a lot of people would probably say, well, I could pretend like I'm at a football game, but I'm really not. So how does that benefit me?
Feeling it. Feeling it.
Feeling is the most important part, honestly. It's that's actually a statement. The feeling is literally the most important part. Like, when you go to the football game, you're going because you want that feeling. So if you can create that feeling without even going, then you can literally just feel like you're at every football game that you ever cut on the TV.
And also, I think as a kid, that feeling was easier because we didn't have all this knowledge of doubt in our head that's now stored from so many years. You know what I mean? When we was kids, like, we can get there and we can feel it like we really there. And now we have all of this doubt and all these things that we look directly in front of us like, this ain't it, you know? But yeah, we lose that feeling. Well, it's easier to get that feeling when you're not thinking about what you don't have.
And I think a big part of also, like, recreating and rethinking your circumstances too is you gotta be open to wanting. You gotta be open to knowing that you can reach exactly what you want. Like, one thing I think about all the time, and it actually just crossed my mind the other day. I remember I was in Longwood, and Rob was up the street at Liberty, and I remember he was like, yeah, come up here for a weekend or whatever. but I didn't have like any money or any gas money, any ride like that. And I just kept thinking to myself, like, no, I'm gonna get there though. And so the minute I kept thinking I was gonna get there, then he called me. It's like, yeah, well, you know, our friend from Richmond is coming or whatever. And he said you could come scoop you if you just give him a little gas money. So then I was still thinking like, oh, man, I don't have no gas money still. But then I was like, oh, wait. Now this is hilarious. I had like a $10 worth of bag of dimes because I planned on using it for laundry. I had planned on using it for laundry or whatever, but I couldn't take the laundry. The laundry machine would only take quarters. And so when I called my friend, I was like, hey, look, I got some money, but it's all dimes. And he's like, yeah, no, that works fine. It'll help on the toes. Like, so just that fast, the idea of like me recreating my circumstances allowed, like, just thinking about it and never putting myself in a feeling of, whoa, nope, I just can't do it because I don't have, allowed everything else to happen, like all of it to transpire.
Mm-hmm. And that's so key because when we know that something can't happen, it cannot happen.
It can't, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think about like now where I'm at in my life, maybe I'm gonna say 6, 7 years ago, I remember where I was, and I remember thinking about where I'm at now, like everything that I want, and now that I have it, it's like, dang. I remember I hadn't thought about this. I hadn't seen this way back then, but I was so busy looking at the time of how long the things I had to go through in order to get it. And now it's like, if I didn't worry about it, I probably would have brought it. I probably would have had it sooner. But yeah, when you think about it, and you just really believe it, it got to come to you. It got to.
I think a key to getting over is not limiting ourselves. Because I feel like when we put those limits on ourselves, then that's the bar. That's just how is this going to happen, you know? And so when we release those limits, and then we know anything is possible, I feel like that gains a big ground on outthinking your circumstances. Yeah.
It's funny, I was watching an interview, like the other day, it was of this NFL player, Martellus Bennett actually, and he was speaking about his family, and he was actually talking about literally almost the same thing, but from a different lens. So he was saying that he kind of outthought his circumstances of being an athlete because he felt like he was more inclined to the arts, but he just happened to be very athletic. So he was like, yeah, you know, everybody used to always tell me and my brother we were athletes, but he was like, I feel like I was a man of the arts, and what actually unlocked that for me was a spiritual journey and like unlocking my imagination. And so when he said that, and then thinking back to what you had just said earlier, I think the imagination is like the biggest component of like outthinking your circumstance. Like the minute you can imagine differently, you can be different.
Yeah. And what else I want to touch on too on that is better never has to end. It never has to end. Like you say, you look at yourself from 7 years ago to now, and you still feel like you can get better. Like the bar just moves. And when we set limits, then it's the end on getting better. So, but better has no end, and we can always be better.
Okay. It's just like what you just said. Like you may say, you know, you want a new place. And you get the new place. All right, so then what's next? You know, you like the new place for 5 days or so, you're already settled in, you showed everybody a new spot. Bam, now what's next? Or let's just say you wanted the PlayStation 5. You get the PlayStation 5, you play it for 2-3 days, now you're bored. You already accomplished getting it. You played it, now what's next? So like you said, it never, it's like what you want, it never ends, you know what I'm saying?
The better never ending is funny too because we had just came from Vegas, and like after we came, I was listening to the album, and I was like, yeah, man, like I love that we travel a lot, but now I also feel like I want to take like these types of trips as well. And so it was just even then it was me realizing like this is good, but also I might feel like this is better, but when I get here, I can also expand my horizon again some more. And that also really made me think traveling is also, I feel like it helps me outthink my circumstance too. Like the minute I feel like I'm seeing different people and seeing different things, I feel like I no longer, like once you see one person do it, you know that you can do it. And so I feel like traveling just really exposes me to that personally.
And I just want to clear up a word, like the word better. That's the word I don't really feel comfortable with, but I do feel comfortable with continue to expand. Like we can always continue to expand. There's always more. But to Stephen's point, and I don't know that I'll be able to articulate what's in my aura right now, but a lot of times we do, like we want this and then we get this, then we don't want that no more, then we want this. And so that's really like a chasing of something. So you still haven't found who you are and what you want. It's like, yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to explain it. So the chasing to prove that to yourself that you're better, like that's not the direction that, that's not the expansion of who we are. So basically, a lot of times we try to acquire material things to say, okay, I got this house, now I'm gonna get a bigger house, now I'm gonna get a bigger house, now I'm gonna get a bigger house, or whatever it is. But really what we, instead of chasing the material things, we want to shift to chasing, I don't even want to use the word chasing, but to feeling what it is we want to feel. And so as long as we're trying to get the feeling from something out there, then that will never be good enough. So this house will not be good enough. It'll only be good for the next couple of days. Then you need a better house. But if we're looking for the feeling of whatever it is, like if it's a feeling of freedom or if it's a feeling of, you know, worthiness or a feeling of pride or a feeling of, you know, being surrounded by beautiful things or whatever. So like having that feeling is the thing that will keep us from being in pursuit of something bigger, bigger, bigger. But instead you will expand the beauty. So the beauty, for example, might not be a bigger house. It might be a more beautiful relationship. Like you might get the same feeling from it and you don't need a bigger house. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I explained it well, but.
Yeah, I think I got exactly what you're saying. It was like if it's, all right, I got this and now I want this, then you kind of still lacking whatever the feeling is that you were searching for. Like you want to make sure that when you're expanding what feels good, not what feels like it's supposed to be next, I guess.
And then also, I know a lot of times we think and speak in terms of getting something, when really we already have it. Right? Sure. And that's what Stephen always says, I already got it, or whatever. But I know people probably don't understand what that means when you say I already got it. They look like, no.
Well, I see it.
Are you able to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, this just like, I can say now, like my thing is now I want to be financially stable, right? Like I see myself at a certain point financially wise. Well, in the 3D, it may not be there, right? But I'm not thinking on the 3D level. I'm thinking more fifth dimension, already being, you know. So every day I'm in the mindset of being, because if you think as though you already have it, it has no choice but to come to you. And I had to learn that just over time. It's just like, you know, just thinking of small things. Like, for example, let's say like getting a car, you know, getting your driver's license. You know you want to get your driver's license. You want to get your driver's license, so it has no choice. You're going to get it. You know what I'm saying? So when you put yourself up in the state of knowing and being, then things gonna happen to you. And I try not to look at the end goal. Just always try to be in the present moment.
Could you get more of who you been?
Yeah, so everything that we see is started as that thought.
Oh.
And that thought exists. And it's a thought, it takes up space. A thought exists somewhere. And so it doesn't come into the 3D, into the where we can touch it and feel it until it has, I guess, marinated enough. Right? And so you are already it. If you think it, you are already it. And the more you think it, the more you feel it. It, like Stephen said, it has to show up.
And I think some people probably, like, they probably hear that part, like, if you continuously think it, it has to show up. But then it's like, you have to be genuine about, you know, what you really thinking about. Don't be thinking about it and just like, okay, if I think it, it's, you know, then this is it's gonna happen tomorrow. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta come from a place of like, is this something that you truly, truly want? You know, is it in alignment with where you're going? I don't know if I was trying to get to a certain point. I don't know if I explained it correctly. I probably didn't, but.
So I think a lot of times when we think it and then it doesn't show up, it's because we're blocking it at the same time. So while we're thinking one thought, we're also thinking the opposite thought. So I'm thinking, you know, I want a car, but I'm also thinking I'm not worthy. But if you're feeling yourself, seeing yourself in that car, and you feeling good in that car, then it's going to show up. So you're removing the blocks. But yeah, as long as we're just thinking like, oh, I wish I had a house, or I wish I had, you know, a girlfriend, or whatever. First of all, you're in a space of I don't have. So as long as you're saying, I wish I had it, I want it, you're creating a space of I don't have. But also, if at the same time you're thinking, you know, I'm just not good enough, I'm not worthy, I deserve to be poor, and you know, I've heard someone say before, I think I've heard a couple of people say before, that to be successful is like to betray their culture. Have y'all ever heard anything like that?
I think I heard something similar along the lines of that. I think I have.
It's like, I can't be rich because my peeps are poor.
Yeah.
And even though most people would never articulate that, but most people would never say that out loud, but I think that is a common thing in terms of we just believe we're supposed to be in a certain status. And because we believe that, that's where we stay.
Yeah.
We believe bad things are supposed to happen. We believe we're supposed to be victims. We believe the world doesn't treat us well. So as long as we believe all those things
keep coming.
right.
Coming up.
And this conversation is interesting too because it makes me think of like two sayings that are like very common, but I'm trying to figure out like how to combine it. So I feel like a great way to like almost like to outthink your circumstance is like, in a sense, fake it till you make it, but not fake it till you make it, because I think the faking, I've been breaking this in down for a long time. I feel like the faking is now like the same feeling of I'm not worthy that you were just speaking of. So it's like I want to combine like the fake it till you make it with live a little, because I feel like if you live a little until you make it, then it becomes your full-time life. So I think I don't know how to properly say it in like a saying that works yet, but I feel like, yeah, you know, you don't want to fake it till you make it because you don't want to be inauthentic, but you do want to live a little and experience different things, so that way you can be fully on what you want to be.
So when you say live a little, what do you mean?
Like, okay, like literally just everything that you would say, like, all right, I'm going to take Steven's example. I want to be financially stable. So like to live a little for me would be like to do things that you feel like do things that you would make you feel more financially stable. So you feel like I'm gonna start a budget this week and I'm just gonna budget this week or whatever. Like now, that might not, it's not my lifestyle, but that might be how you want to take the step. Like that's your living a little. Like you're doing something new to you. Like you're expanding your horizons.
By being on a budget.
Yeah.
I don't even want to speak on that, but I'm gonna just say this thing. Like to me, a budget is a limitation.
I agree. Can't be for me. But so yeah, clearly that's a terrible example. But it's like, all right, so let's say you want to be financially stable. So instead of a budget, you decide to invest in something that you really like. Like you got a friend who's starting up a business, and normally he came to you with this money play, and it's like, hey, look, we could go split this business 50-50. But normally you wouldn't dabble in it or whatever because you're like, oh, that's not my lane. That's just not my lane. But like to live a little would be to, well, I'm gonna step out here with you. And like, let's try this and let's see what happens. And knowing that everything's gonna be okay.
So yeah, you could do that. I think a lot of people would put up blocks with that. So they're like, okay, I'm in investment now. I'm afraid that this is, so then it's not gonna work out because they're like giving out that energy. But to your point, I remember this exercise that Abraham Hicks had in their book. What was the name of their book? I can't even think of it right now. Asking It Is Given. One of their exercises. They had a lot of exercises. They might have been like several chapters worth of just exercises, but I remember one of them was to put $100 bill in your pocket, and then you would just go to the store, and you don't actually spend the $100 bill, but you would say, "Ooh, with $100, I could buy this if I wanted to, or I could buy this." So you're basically spending the $100 about 100 times, so you just keep spending it, and you just realizing like, okay, I have $100, so I could have this, I could have that, I could have like just spend not up to $100, but you can spend $100 100 times, and so basically it's more like. You saying live a little. It's kind of like you can live a little in your mind, right? And have fun with, I can have this and I can have this. And right now, I could pull this out and I could buy this, So it goes back to imagination, like Robin was saying, being joyful in what you're doing, being an appreciation and all those things.
So when you said that about money now, I gotta be more joyful when I spend money. Feel good about it.
Yeah, because you think like if somebody was trying to hold on to you, like, don't go, Steve, don't go. You'd be like, oh my God. Right? Well, yeah, actually, that's going to be my challenge. If everybody for the next week will think of money as a person. So everything you do with money, think about it as you're doing it to or with another person, and see how that goes.
Okay. That's going to be fun.
Going to Amazon tonight. Won't think about it. So yeah, I like that.
So I enjoyed that. Outthinking your circumstances. So you have something you want to close with that?
Yeah, I guess I just want to piggyback on exactly what Rod said earlier. The best way to outthink your circumstances is unlock your imagination, and remove all those blocks from you. When I say unlock your imagination, take it back to the most elementary version of your imagination that you could get, and every circumstance will change drastically.
All right, thank you for that. I enjoyed that. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed it too, and we look forward to chatting with you again next week. And don't forget to think of money like a person for the rest for the whole week, and see what happens. All right, until next week, this is Arvette.
And this is Steve.
Toronto.
Right.